know that going through a marriage separation is hard. And if you've been through one, you know exactly how hard going through a separation can be. But when you also have to figure out your finances while you're going through a separation, that can be very, very frustrating. Finances is one of the biggest things that people will break up over. I mean, it's probably not one of the leading causes of divorce, but it's one of the reasons why people do get divorced is just finances. And if you're planning on getting a divorce, the last thing that you want to do is worry about finances, because finances will make the divorce proceedings longer. It's important to know what's in your account, and hopefully you have more than one account. Even if you are not the breadwinner and you stay at home, you should still know what's going on in your accounts. When people go through a separation, sometimes finances are actually the last thing on their mind. I know for me, it was the last thing on my mind. Like, I knew how much money I made. I knew how much money was coming in. I knew the bills that I had to pay, and I knew what I could and what I couldn't afford. But when I got separated, I didn't know what to do or where to go. I really didn't know what truly belonged to me, and I didn't know my financial rights after the separation. After my first separation from my ex-husband, I went through such a hardship. I've worked a full-time job, but yet I couldn't even afford diapers for my son. I had no financial literacy. I didn't know anything about budgeting, and I didn't know how to handle my financials other than to have money come in and have money go out paying my bills. Well, let's just say I paid the bills. That was more important. My phone and my cable got cut off constantly. And if I didn't live in base housing, my water and my electricity probably would have gotten cut off too. And no one really knew. Like, I didn't tell anybody because I was so ashamed and I felt like a failure as a mom. And when I finally opened up my mouth to actually ask for help, guess what happened? I got help. I didn't even realize how many people around me was willing to help me. I had friends help me buy diapers for my son. I had my parents give me money. Even though I hated asking, I still had people to help me. But after that time, it taught me some things that I use today, and I also used when I was separated from my current husband. Here are the 6 things that I learned financially going through a separation with my ex-husband and my current husband. 1, create a budget. Creating a budget is probably one of the best things that people can do for their financial health. But there are a lot of people that don't do it. People who live paycheck to paycheck don't have a budget. You may know what's coming in, you may know when you get paid, but you don't necessarily know what's going out. And I used to always wonder why me and my ex were always broke. It's because some people feel like just because they have extra money in their account that they have to spend it. 2, know your financials together. You do not want to be stuck in a situation where you do not know what is in your bank account. And you don't want to be stuck if you do end up going through a separation or a divorce because only your spouse or only one person in the marriage handle the financials. And then when it comes down to you guys separating assets, you're sitting there like you don't even know what assets you guys have. 3, you need to get rid of your joint accounts. This is honestly one of the reasons why I don't have a joint account with my husband now. Because as soon as you decide to separate from your spouse or to divorce your spouse, the first thing that they may do, and I'm not saying that everybody's gonna do this, but they may take the money out of their account and move it to their new account before you do. And that happened to me. And I'm not saying that my husband will do that to me now, but it created a fear in me that what if this marriage don't work and we decide to separate our money? How would we know? And I would know because I'm a lot smarter now, but it's how would we know what is owed to them and then what is owed to me. Me personally, I would not keep any joint accounts open if I am separated from my husband. Now, unless you guys have some type of understanding and it's in writing that states what is going in the account and what is going out of the account. But even then, I don't think that I would do it, because what if they become spiteful? Or if you start seeing somebody else, what if they become jealous? And what if they just start spending and moving money? Besides, if you do end up filing for a divorce after the separation, it just makes things easier to just separate everything at that time. 4, kind of what I mentioned in 3, get everything in writing. And this also helps if you do decide to get divorced as well. Make sure that whatever you guys separate or decide who's going to take what, get it in writing, spell it out, get it notarized. And because that's something that I had to do with my car. When I was separated from my ex-husband, both of our names was on my car, but I was the one that was driving it and I was the one that was paying for it. So when we were dividing, we didn't have many assets together, but when we were dividing our assets, our money and everything, that was one of the things that I made sure that I got in writing, so that when we got divorced, I took that letter to the court to say, hey, the car that we have is mine. And I told them that when I was going to get it refinanced so that I can get his name taken off of it. And I made sure that all of that was written in the letter, spelling out what I was going to basically do with my car. And do it for everything that you guys have together. If you have a house that's in both of your names, who is going to get the house? Who is going to continue living in the house? Or are you both going to try to sell the house? And then how are you going to split down the money? Like, everything needs to be spelled out and written out. If after the separation you guys don't decide to get a divorce, oh well. But before that time, and I know some of you are probably going to say, why are you going to do all this work if you're not going to get a divorce? But you don't know what's going to happen. And me, I would rather be prepared than to be blindsided. And also, if you have everything written out, if you have everything together and you and your spouse can agree on everything, it makes the divorce proceedings go by so quickly. I don't even think I was in the courtroom for, 10 to 20 minutes. We agreed on everything and I walked in. They said, do you agree on everything? Is there any other things that we needed to discuss? No. They stamped the paper. They said, congratulations, you guys are divorced. And that was it. 5, know your separation date. And what I mean by that is each state have their own stipulations on how long that you have to be separated for in order to really go through the divorce proceedings. So I think California is a year. I know when I went through my divorce in New Jersey. New Jersey was 6 months. So I'm not really sure if they're still 6 months or if they may have changed. But each state has like their own rule to say, oh, you have to be separated from your spouse for this number of months in order to finalize the divorce and go through the divorce proceedings. So know how long you're going to be separated from your husband or wife if you know that you are going to go through with a divorce. And if you don't know, then I would still know, because even after you're separated from your spouse for a year or 6 months, you may decide to get back together. But like I said, what if you don't? What if you don't? And 6, divide your assets. I know I kind of mentioned dividing your assets, I think in step 4, because I was talking about getting everything in writing. But know, before you get everything in writing, know what each one of you is going to take. And if anything is gained while you two are separated, discuss if those things are going to be shared or not. And then go back to step 4. Make sure that you get it in writing. Going through a separation and a divorce is really hard. And I know, I said and these are only 6 steps. I mean, there's so many things that people go through, and we've all heard the horror stories of going through a divorce. When you're going through a separation and you're going through a divorce, it's already hard on you because you never thought that this person that you fell in love with and that you married and that you made this promise to, that you two are now dissolving your marriage. So on top of getting divorced, on top of getting separated, then you have finances. And for some people, finances is just a headache. So it's like it's stress on top of stress on top of stress. But you have to know what you have, and you have to know what you two are going to divide when that time comes. It is one of those conversations that it's like you can't push it off to the side and have it later. You can't. Because then what's going to happen is if you guys do end up getting a divorce and you're going through your divorce proceedings, for one, the divorce proceedings is going to take very long, and two, it's going to be like it's going to be hard for you guys to agree on anything because of the stage that you guys are doing it at. If you guys do it in the beginning, get all those arguments out in the beginning and kind of hash everything out, then it may not be as hard if you two decide to get a divorce at the end of the separation window. And if you know that you two cannot agree on anything, get a mediator. And I mean, like a lawyer. Get someone who's going to understand the divorce proceedings, the separation proceedings. If you cannot do it between you and your spouse, then get help and get someone who is going to be non-biased and someone who is going to really help you to say, this is what you should get, this is what your spouse should get, and to help you guys come to an agreement versus arguing the whole time. So I hope that this video helped you guys. I hope that it provided you some value. I hope that it gave you guys some things to think about if you are going through a separation right now with your spouse. Because the last thing that you want to think about is finances when you're going through a separation, but it is something that you do need to think about because you want to make sure that you get what you're supposed to. So if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Please don't hesitate to subscribe to my channel. And remember, love yourself, adore yourself, be yourself. Thank you. And I hope I get to see you guys in my next video.